Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself standing in a dimly lit garage on a Saturday morning. Your hands are black with grease. The sharp smell of oil and rust fills your lungs. Before you sits a 1967 Mustang paint, peeling chrome pitted, engine silent for decades. Most people would see scrap metal, maybe $500 at the junkyard. But you see something completely different. You see potential. You see beauty sleeping under that rust. You see a story waiting to be reborn. This single moment, this way of seeing, reveals everything about one of the most fascinating psychological profiles in the modern world. The people who restore classic cars aren't just fixing old machines, they're engaged in something far more profound, something that tells us deep truths about human nature, about what makes us tick, about why we do what we do. Every bolt they turn, every panel they hammer, every wire they connect, it all speaks volumes about who they are. So let's pull back the hood and examine what's really going on inside the minds of these mechanical artists. First, let's talk about who these people actually are. Classic car restoration attracts a very specific type of human being. Personality psychologists have studied this extensively, and the data reveals something striking. Restorers score exceptionally high on a trait called conscientiousness. What does that mean in plain English? These are people who don't quit. They're meticulous, detail-obsessed, and persistent to an almost stubborn degree. When everyone else walks away from a problem, they lean in closer. When normal people say it's impossible, they hear it's challenging. Think about what restoration actually demands. You might spend 6 months hunting down the correct carburetor for a 1969 Chevelle, another year fabricating a single body panel that no longer exists anywhere on Earth. You'll make phone calls to strangers across the country, you'll dig through salvage yards in the summer heat, you'll learn metalworking just to create one small bracket. This isn't a hobby for the impatient, it requires a psychological makeup that finds deep satisfaction in gradual progress, rather than instant gratification. In our world of same-day Amazon delivery, TikTok dopamine hits, and streaming everything, these individuals stand radically apart. They're psychological outliers, and that makes them fascinating. But here's where it gets really interesting from a psychological perspective. Something almost magical happens in those garages. When a restorer is deep into a rebuild, hands inside an engine bay, focused entirely on timing a camshaft or adjusting valves, their brain enters a state that neuroscientists can actually measure. It's called flow state. The Hungarian psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent his entire career studying this phenomenon. He discovered something counterintuitive. People report their highest levels of happiness not during leisure or relaxation, but during challenging activities that completely absorb their attention. When you're rebuilding a transmission, all the noise disappears. Work deadlines? Gone. Family stress? Evaporated. Political anxiety? Irrelevant. There's only the present moment, the problem in front of you. Your hands working toward a solution. This is meditation in its truest form. But instead of sitting on a cushion, you're covered in grease. And instead of mantras, you hear the click of wrenches. Studies show that people in flow state experience lower cortisol stress hormone levels, increased dopamine and endorphins, better emotional regulation, improved mental health markers. Classic car restoration provides this therapeutic state in abundance. The challenges are real and substantial, but they're achievable with dedication and learning. That sweet spot, difficult but possible, is exactly where flow lives. Now let's go deeper into something restorers rarely talk about openly, but psychologists observe consistently. Classic cars become emotional companions. Listen to restorers' stories and you'll notice patterns. A man who lost his father restores the exact same truck his dad drove. A woman navigating divorce rebuilds the car she drove in high school when life felt simpler, when she knew who she was. The car becomes more than metal and rubber. It becomes a safe container for processing grief, loss, transition, and identity. There's a concept in psychology called object relations theory. It suggests we form deep emotional attachments to objects in ways that help us work through relationships and internal conflicts. Think about it. A classic car won't judge you for making mistakes. It won't reject you. It won't leave. It simply waits patiently for you to figure things out. You can fail 100 times and it's still there. This provides a psychologically safe space to practice patience, to experience success after repeated failures, to rebuild yourself while rebuilding the car. Therapists have noted that many of their clients who restore cars make breakthroughs in their personal lives simultaneously. The metaphor becomes literal as you repair what's broken in the car. You repair what's broken in yourself. One restorer put it beautifully. I started this Corvette restoration right after my divorce. Somewhere around the time I finished the bodywork, I realized I'd put myself back together too. Let's shift gears and talk about something we're all struggling with. Control. Modern life feels increasingly chaotic. Economic uncertainty, political turbulence, technology changing faster than we can adapt, AI, climate anxiety, algorithm-driven everything. Where do you find stability? Where do you find agency? The feeling that your choices actually matter? For restorers, the answer sits on four wheels in their garage. A restoration project offers something increasingly rare: complete control. You decide everything. Original specifications or custom modifications? Factory color or personal preference? Keep it stock or add modern conveniences? Every single decision is yours. Psychological research consistently shows that perceived control over our environment is one of the strongest predictors of mental health and life satisfaction. Lack of control correlates with anxiety, depression, and learned helplessness. But in that garage, you're not helpless. You're the architect, the engineer, the artist. And when you finish, when you turn that key and hear the engine roar to life after months or years of silent waiting, you've created undeniable proof of your competence. In an economy dominated by abstract service jobs and digital work that disappears when you close your laptop, this tangible accomplishment carries enormous weight. You can point to that car and say, "Without question, I made that happen. It was rust and ruin. Now it gleams and purrs. That transformation came from me." That's powerful medicine for the human psyche. The people who restore classic cars are teaching us something urgent about human psychology. They show us that real satisfaction comes from meaningful challenge, not easy entertainment. That connection to the past enriches the present. That working with our hands feeds something essential in our souls that screens can never touch. They remind us that patience and persistence still matter. Maybe now more than ever. Next time you see a beautifully restored classic car at a show or cruising down the street, remember that machine represents thousands of hours of human dedication. Someone poured their psychology into that metal. They found therapy, purpose, community, and meaning in mechanics. That's not just a car, that's a human story about what makes life worth living.